This is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Rishi K.
Radio 1.
Ustad is the wild tiger who was wrongly put in a zoo. Countrywide protests, petitions, court cases, all have happened. But the tiger continues to languish in the zoo, and there's something known as Freedom for Ustad, which is a fabulous campaign which has come to my attention. Ustad, meanwhile, is T24, for those of you who don't know, a wild tiger. And I have in studio PV Subramaniam and Sarita. Hi, welcome to the show. Wonderful to see both of you here.
Hi, Rishi.
Hi, Rishi.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Good morning. PV, tell us about Ustad. What's your campaign all about? The nitty-gritties of that, please.
Rishi, Ustad is a wild tiger from the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan. He's been living blissfully in the forest for the last 9 years. Presently, he has 2 cubs whom he was protecting. Unfortunately, in May this year, the forest department caught hold of him and dumped him into the zoo. They allege that he was responsible for the killing of a forest guard. Our campaign, Freedom for Ustad, is all about getting Ustad out of the zoo. This is because we think he's completely innocent. The charges against him are all trumped up. We feel that his place is rightfully in the forest next to his cubs, and we are campaigning exactly for this.
What are your particular reasons for opposing the relocation, Sarita? Would you run us through the vital data?
Rishi, first and foremost, there's absolutely no proof that Ustad is the killer. There was no eyewitness to the killing. In fact, there is no forensic evidence, not a single piece of DNA evidence to prove whether the animal was a bear, a leopard, or another tiger for that matter. In fact, initially they thought it was Sultan, who's Ustad's killer. More importantly, Rishi, what we feel is the killing happened inside the forest, almost a kilometer inside the park gates. So if a human being enters the tiger's territory in its home and threatens it, what do we expect? A tragedy is bound to happen.
And we're seeing that thought resonate very close to where we are, which is in the Sanjay Gandhi National Park and, the Borivali National Park. And I've spoken to so many wildlife conservationists, notably amongst which is Vidya Atreya, who says that if we invade their territory and we're constantly building tenements, houses, or stray into their territory, it's obvious that they will retaliate.
Very true.
And that essentially is the problem all over this country, isn't it? Whether it's Ranthambore or whether it's the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Sarita.
Yeah. See, for example, we wonder why there is such an increase in the man-animal conflicts. Even in Ranthambore, there is tremendous human pressure, which I think PV and Ashish will tell you a little more about. But there is too much human interference as far as our wildlife goes. Would you like?
And coming back to Ustad's implication, he was convicted totally on circumstantial evidence. The poor fellow wandered onto the scene of the incident 2 hours after the incident. Somebody saw him sniffing around and they immediately said, okay, here's the killer. I mean, this is so much like the Hindi movie scenario where the good man comes and rescues a stabbing victim and the cops catch him with a dagger in his hand and say, oh, he's the killer, and they dump him in jail. This is exactly what's happened to Ustad. And moreover, they also had a very checkered history for Ustad to fall back on. See, Ustad has been a tiger who has been implicated in 3 previous incidents.
Which is what we're going to come to. Without any proof, how did they decide that Ustad is the killer? Bon Jovi, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Ustad, the tiger from the Ranthambore National Park. We are talking Freedom for Ustad at 9:07. Good morning, I'm Rishi K. Bon Jovi, Morning Sounds with I'll Sleep When I'm Dead at 9:10. Ustad, the tiger. On the 16th of May, he was picked up from the forest by the forest department and dumped in a zoo on suspicion of having killed a forest guard. Earlier, the same tiger had been accused of 3 other killings over the last 5 years. Freedom for Ustad is the campaign. PV Subramaniam, Sarita and Ashish Joharkar now join me in studio, and we're going to have an extended discussion over the next hour about tiger number T24, a wild tiger from Ranthambore Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan. Ashish, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Rishi.
Let's start with the fact that they just decided ad hoc that Ustad is the killer without any proof. What are their reasons for deciding so?
So, it's basically pure circumstantial evidence, as you see. There were no eyewitnesses, no tests done, no forensics, no DNA testing done. This all just implies that it was very haywire. In fact, one of the ex CWW, which is the chief wildlife warden, Mr. Chaube, even said that Ustad was not, is not guilty in two of the previous three incidences. Mr. Gisu Singh's incident was something which he attributed to Ustad, but for the other two, he never implicated Ustad. So he's given him a clean chit there too.
Okay, my colleague Naveen Saxena SMSs to say T24 is a fantastic tiger. I've gone to Ranthambore many a times to sight him, though he has a history, but after Machli is the rock steady one. Touch on Machli too. So you want to tell me about Machli?
Well, Machli is a tigress whom the forest department has actually been really looking after in this case, and they are in fact feeding her and keeping her going because she's a very famous tigress.
That's good.
But unfortunately, the same forest department which has been tending to Machli has really given a really poor deal to Ustad. In fact, see, there's something called as the NTCA, which is the National Tiger Conservation Authority. They make the guidelines for tigers all over the country. It's a central government body under the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Now, the NTCA has some very clear-cut guidelines on what you need to do if there's a man-animal conflict. Well, they have something like, first you form a committee of experts, then you radio collar the tiger, you monitor his movements, see whether this tiger is straying into human territory, see whether he's actually trying to seek out humans for attacks, and on the basis of that, they can declare a tiger as dangerous. Unfortunately, with Ustad, none of this has been done. He has just been implicated on circumstantial evidence, and they decided to throw him into a zoo. In fact, some wildlife lovers all over the country have been really upset with this. One wildlife lover actually went to the Rajasthan High Court to petition for his release. Unfortunately, at that time, there wasn't enough evidence and the court dismissed the case. But today, the NTCA has filed an official report about the whole incident, which really throws things into a very, very new perspective. It is actually a kind of a sensational report.
So we are going to come to the NTCA report, but wonderful that you've actually enlisted guidelines and protocol to be followed in such cases, and obviously not followed in Ustad's case, in this particular case.
Very true.
Ashish, would you give us the Facebook page, the Twitter handle, where we can actually go on and follow Freedom for Ustad? Is there a signature campaign online? All those details, please.
Sure, Rishi. Just to give you a recap, on 14th of August this year, we did a nationwide signature campaign for the Freedom for Ustad, where 29 to 30 cities participated in that. It was a silent protest with signatures being attained from people who are well-wishers for the wildlife and tigers per se. Those signed petitions have gone to the Rajasthan CM and the PMO's office. We are still awaiting certain reverts from them. On the Facebook side, basically we have a page called as we have a group called as Freedom for Ustad. The Twitter handle looks as hashtag Freedom for Ustad. So people who want to extend their support are free to come and do that.
Fantastic. Messages and back, we're going to put up pictures of the trio of Sarika, PV Subramaniam and Ashish Joharkar. And if you have any comments, you have any questions, please feel free to get back. Search for HRISHIKAY on Twitter as well as Facebook, facebook.com/radio1.mum. You can like the page and you can ask on the timeline, or you could just inbox us. I'm also opening the SMS lines. 1 space your query or your comment and name to 53650. 9:15. See you in a bit.
94.3 Radio 1.
Fresh, Cool and the Gang. Just a small correction. They do not have a Twitter handle at Freedom for Ustad, so you can hashtag Freedom for Ustad. But they do have a Facebook page which is up and running, which is called Freedom for Ustad. So nothing on Twitter, just go onto the Facebook page. More conversation about Tiger T24, who's been taken from his natural habitat, which is the Ranthambore National Park, and has been taken away without following any protocols or guidelines. This is the Freedom for Ustad campaign.
This is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Rishi K.
Radio 1.
Okay, what does the NTCA report say? Now, the NTCA was formerly known as Project Tiger. Is that
Yes,
not true?
yes, that's right.
So, PV Subramaniam, take us through that.
See, the NTCA is a central government body. It's under the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Most popularly, it used to be called as Project Tiger. They basically oversee everything there is to do about the tiger in India. They are the apex body who says the last word about tigers. Now, the NTCA nominated 3 top experts to visit Ranthambore after the Ustad incident. and they filed a detailed report somewhere in June, and this report is rather sensational. Firstly, it very clearly says that the Rajasthan Forest Department completely ignored their protocols. They have a very clear set of guidelines telling what the Forest Department needs to do in case of such incidents. They completely violated these guidelines. They were supposed to form a special committee of tiger experts, and Rishi, can you believe this? They actually got a hotelier and a spider expert on the committee. I mean, totally against the protocols. Next, they actually came to the conclusion that the Forest Department did not have any concrete proof, and they just relied on Ustad's past history, which is also debatable, and studying some pug marks and camera trap images, and then they concluded that Ustad is the culprit.
Okay, we got some very interesting tweets coming in and Facebook posts. Sunil Acharya, we also need to understand that they are territorial animals. We invite trouble when we invade their territory. Exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Rahul Gaikwad, the tiger didn't go mad. The tiger just went tiger. These guys shouldn't have been in the forest. Office worker, but how did the guy die? Animal hit or something else? No one is talking about that, Rishi. Sai Iyer, what do you expect a tiger to do? Click selfies? Interesting that. Sunil, had recently read an article on the Goa magazine about the same. The worry was about the cubs of Ustad, and we are going to come to that. Oswald Crasto, Ranthambore is sounding like a circus, unfortunately. But yeah, buddy, it's so ironical, your statement. Shrikesh, hi Rishi, being a tiger lover, I support freedom for Ustad. But my point is, who has given us a right to lay laws of the wild? It sounds so funny. We're talking about a wild animal who was born to live free. Next, will we be appointing a lawyer for Ustad? Will Ustad be brought to court? What nonsense. Man enters the wild, so that's what you get. Nothing gives us the right to decide how Ustad or any other wild animal should behave. This is wrong. Thanks so much for that, Shrikesh. Okay, Ashish Joharkar. Is this not circumstantial evidence? Let's talk about that, the NTCA report.
Yes, Rishi, it is purely circumstantial evidence because a lot of credence was given to the pug mark identification, which actually in today's time does not hold much credit, because you cannot actually decipher the exact identity of the tiger. Also, camera traps have just seen him patrolling the place after the incident happened. So nobody's actually, there's no eyewitness, so nobody's actually seen him attack the forest guard. Also, very importantly, it has been reported in the NTCA report that sorry, the chief wildlife warden has not given any reasons for non-rewilding Ustad. Also, there have been statements clearly emphasized in the report that the CWW has not given reasons for rewilding of Ustad, as well as not being,
He's not taking some permissions which are mandatory. He needs to go to the central government. He needs to take the NTCA permission. None of this was done.
Yeah, and also he's not taking permissions from the central government for, basically things have been flouted left, right and center.
I'm going to come to the fact that, they seem to be justifying shifting Ustad. What is their justification in just a bit? Brian Adams can't stop this thing we started. It's Freedom for Ustad, the campaign. Ustad is Tiger T24 from the Ranthambore National Park. Brian Adams can't stop this thing we started. Really interesting video where the guitar is like a rodeo horse and he's riding it along with his band members. 9:33. The NTCA, formerly called Project Tiger, has released the official report. It clearly says that the Rajasthan Forest Department acted in haste in the case of Ustad the tiger, tiger number T24. And on the 14th of August, 30 cities across India held protest meetings asking for freedom for Ustad. Petitions have been collected for the Prime Minister, the Environment Ministry and the Rajasthan Chief Minister, and P.V. Subramaniam, Sarita as well as Ashish Joharkar, who are really actively campaigning for freedom for Ustad, are in studio. Sarita, so what is the Ranthambore Forest Department, the Rajasthan Forest Department and the Ranthambore National Park's reason or justification for shifting Ustad? Let's talk of that.
See, first and foremost, it's not about the tiger here at all. They are talking about humans. Again, humans taking precedence over wildlife in a national park. They want Ustad's territory to be safe for pilgrims. Can you imagine, Rishi, there are thousands of pilgrims walking on foot, speeding across on the tiger's territory. I have seen a langur being killed by a speeding vehicle. It all happens in Ranthambore. This is the only reserve in India where such foot traffic is permitted. and every day. They also feel that this man-eater label on Ustad will scare away the forest guards. In fact, believe it or not, there is a very bad precedent set in Ranthambore where the forest guards gave a letter that they will not go to work if Ustad is not removed from the forest. Can you imagine what this does for the rest of the country? If forest guards, our police inspectors, our firemen don't do their job just because they find that there is threat out there. It's not right. Plus, there were rumors that the villagers actually threatened to hurt Ustad or other tigers. This is something that is commonly thrown out at people, saying that there will be retaliatory poisoning, retaliatory killings. Well, if the villagers do something like that, that's a law and order situation that needs to be controlled by the civic administration. It's not the prerogative of the forest department. The forest department's onus is to look after its wildlife and do everything it can for that. These are the justifications they have given. In fact, none of the villagers actually protested against Ustad. There were protests outside the gate to keep Ustad in the forest.
Okay, so let me get this straight. A tiger reserve is supposed to safeguard the interest of tigers and focus on keeping humans away, and we've got it all wrong here. Is that true?
Absolutely. Now the focus is how do we keep the pilgrims safe? How do we allow tourists to not get disturbed by the tigers? If we are going to harass the tigers, stress out the tigers, such an accident is bound to happen. Including this forest guard, he went looking for the tiger. It's very, very important to understand. For example, Ustad in his 9 years has never hurt a single pilgrim. He's never harassed a single tourist. So how are we implicating a stressed out tiger who is being threatened in his home?
Wow. So you're saying Ustad hasn't attacked any pilgrim thus far. Tourists are not at the risk of being attacked. This is another thing.
Yes,
yeah?
absolutely. In fact, he is very, very tourist friendly. And one of the reasons the hotel lobby is feeling threatened is not because they feel Ustad is now no longer attractive. His territory also abuts a lot of these luxury resorts which are encroached into the forest.
Ah, okay. That's the story, Morning Glory. We're going to take messages and come back. Comments, questions, welcome. One space, your comment and name to 53650. On Twitter as well as Facebook, it's HRISHIKAY. Facebook.com/radio1.mum. Like the page, post on the timeline or inbox and I'll bring it up. 9:37, messages and back. Freedom for Ustad, the campaign.
94.3 Radio 1.
Modern country music in the form of Lady Antebellum and Need You Now. Thank you for all your responses on social networking. Claw movement. Why did the Forest Department inform the NTCA only through SMS hours after the attack? What were they hiding? Kavita Ovalekar, I feel bad for Tiger Ustad. Full power to the Crusaders of Freedom for Ustad. Vijay Bhava. Anuja Savant, JJ Kale's Death in the Wilderness would be an ideal song for Freedom for Ustad. Loco Poco, it's time we cherish our national animal rather than punish them. Freedom for Ustad, tigers. Madhuri Banerjee, thank you for the compliment, darling. Glad you're loving all the shows. You have a great day too. Kapil, superb Rishike, a time where everyone is busy entertaining listeners in the morning. You picked up an issue which is very less known. Thanks to PV and Sarita and Ashish for bringing it to my attention. And I've just been following what's happening all around this country. It's a wave, brother. Okay, let's come to the fact that the Ustad story is opening up a can of worms about the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. What is that can of worms, Sarita?
See, first and foremost, we would like to say that the NTCA was actually only informed. Yes, it's true that the NTCA is the supreme authority on deciding about man-animal conflicts, but the Forest Department did not even do the necessary protocols and follow the guidelines.
See, Ranthambore, as far as the park is concerned, Rishi, have you been to Ranthambore?
No, I've never been.
Ranthambore is a beautiful forest. It's overseen by a lovely fort. It's a small national park. It's just 400 square kilometers, but it has large areas attached to it, taking the total area to around 1,300 kilometers. So it's a huge area. But what has happened is that the forest department has not developed the territory well enough for tigers to move into the other zones. So you have the entire tiger population cramped into this little 400 square kilometer national park. So There's lots of overcrowding of tigers in the same zone, and the tigers don't move out to the other areas because of the mismanagement. So if the forest department had actually developed the habitat in the other areas, the tiger population would have spread out, and all these stresses and tensions which would build up in the cats would be easily dissipated. But that's been one of their big failings. And as Sarita spoke to you earlier, there is a pilgrim onslaught, there is a tourist onslaught, so there's heavy human pressure. And one very disturbing thing is there's lots of poaching which happens in Ranthambore. In the last 2 years, Rishi, 15 tigers are missing from the Ranthambore National Park, and nobody has any answers.
And Sariska too, they lost all their tigers there in 2005. You want to talk about that?
Yes, Rishi. In fact, poachers killed all the 17 tigers in Sariska, and all throughout the forest department kept saying everything is fine, we have our tigers, till they could not deny it anymore. Like Subbu said, 15 tigers are missing from Ranthambore, but the forest department does not even acknowledge it. We've asked the forest department to come up with answers to at least some proof. There has to be some proof that these tigers are present in the last 2 years. But nothing else, nothing seems to work. Also, Rishi, you have to understand, as of now, Ranthambore has a rather unique problem. There is this booming industry where tourists like you and me, desperate to see the tiger, is fueling. There are, in fact, Ranthambore is so commercial that there are 38 hotels which are encroaching into the land. And there is no buffer zone. Buffer zones are areas which help the tiger remain from the forest into the buffer area, into zones which are away from villagers. It's like a protective band. And unfortunately, Ranthambore does not have this. The Rajasthan High Court government has ordered the relocation, but the forest department is sloppy, lazy and inept and has done nothing about it.
Also, what is disturbing is there seems to be a nexus between the tourism industry, which is luxury hotels, and the forest department. Is that true?
Rishi, Ranthambore is a multi-crore industry.
Yeah.
And when there's big money, nexuses are just bound to follow. The hotel industry rakes in a lot of tourist dollars. A lot of this needs to be done by keeping the forest department happy. And you have characters like the tour operators, photography tour mentors, all of them jumping into the fray, and they all seem to be having a jolly good time. And sadly, all this is happening at the expense of the tiger. And the problem which happened to Ustad and his relocation and shuttling him into a zoo, it is born out of this nexus in Ranthambore.
So you're saying he could have possibly been framed just to keep, luxury hotels happy, and of course the forest department to assuage people around.
Absolutely, Rishi.
Okay, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Humpty Bump. A couple of more sections left to go before we wrap up. I want to know how Ustad is holding up, and Subramaniam, Sarita as well as Ashish Jawarkar are going to talk about that. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, Humpty Bump. Manam Doshi on Facebook. Hi Rishi, this is just one side of the story. I've also read a lot of different facts which contradict today morning's discussion. For a fair view, one must read or hear both sides to the Ustad saga. Always open, buddy. So if you have a point of view on that, let me know about it. Nishid Mirani, if a tiger encroaches human territory, we make it national news and call the wildlife guys to shoo it away. What when humans encroach jungle territory? What should a tiger do? Very, very well said. Okay, pretty much the concluding part of our discussion on freedom for Ustad. I've heard that it's very difficult to get bookings in the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Ashish Jawarkar, you want to throw some light on that?
Yeah, that's very true, Rishi. Actually, it's not very difficult when you're willing to pay a premium. Now, the premium is as per the whims and fancies of the forest department and probably even the hotel lobby. Having a tiger close by is a very attractive thing, but also it's kind of detrimental when you have a temperamental tiger like Ustad. So there have been stories in Ranthambore where tiger bodies have been found in the swimming pools of hotels and stuff like that. Having said that, as coming back to the question that you posed, yes, it is difficult, but if you can, grease the right kind of palms, getting bookings is not very difficult.
Mm-hmm. How is Ustad holding up, Sarita? Where has he been taken? How is he doing? Give us the details on that.
When Ustad was relocated, it was the peak of summer. At 42 degrees, he was tranquilized and sent to the zoo in Sajjangarh near Udaipur. He's currently in the zoo where there are reports that he is acclimatized. Now, how does a wild animal or a living being for that matter get acclimatized? The spirit has to be broken, and he does it only for survival. He is being underfed, obviously underfed, because they are fed only 6 days in a zoo. The seventh day they are starved so that they eat the same food that is given to them. He would rather be in the jungle, roam the jungle with his cubs. Coming back to the cubs, unlike lion cubs, tiger cubs are not reared by the male, the father. But yes, what the father does is he protects the territory so that the cubs can remain healthy, and the adult male who comes to compete with, to mate with the female tigress is kept at bay. That's the role of Ustad. So without Ustad there, his two cubs are vulnerable to another male tiger attack.
Also, stemming from what she said, basically the plight of him in the zoo right now is such that he's been kept in a zoo where there was a previous tiger called Monu, who died of leptospirosis, which was a rat. You know, he was bitten by rats and all. So the caretaker over there said that he died of a kidney failure, but which we kind of doubt. It was more so because, you know, it was an ill-managed cage.
Claw movement. Why is the booking system not transparent? How is Zone 3 never available for online booking? Abhijit Lakule, great work there. We need to cover the fact. Is there a history to the victims' encounters with wild animals? Why have just Ustad's precedents been taken? Should we also look into the victim's history, as unlike humans, animals do not have revenge and motivations? Very well said. Okay, what are you doing for Ustad's freedom? What are the activities? Sarita, let's round up with that, please.
As of now, as ordinary citizens, we have very little recourse other than protests, meetings, signature campaigns. So we had candle vigil meetings across the country in the month of May. In August, on August 14th, rather, on the eve of independence, we had signature campaigns, prayer meetings across 32 centers in 14 states of India. It is unprecedented that people have come out on onto the streets to ask for freedom for Ustad, an animal. And we continue our protests. We are asking for information from the Right to RTI Acts. So please do that. There are signature campaigns, online petitions, all asking for freedom for our national animal. Our whole contention is, we are asked, why are you focusing on Ustad? Why one tiger? There are so many other issues. Our contention is, unless we make a beginning, let's make a beginning. Let's make a start. Let's start with Ustad. Let Ustad, everything that has gone wrong with Ustad symbolizes everything that is wrong with our wildlife management. We have trusted too many people with this care. It's time we ordinary citizens took charge and some responsibility.
The Facebook page is Freedom for Ustad. So please go be part of the community and you'll be updated on whatever else is happening. A prominent personality, Shankar Mahadevan, for example, really feels very strongly about this, and you will keep abreast of whatever's happening. Thank you, Ashish Joharkar, for rolling in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarita.
Thanks, Rishi.
Thanks, Subramaniam, for rolling in. Messages and back with India's biggest radio show. It's Youth Star with Hrithik Roshan and yours truly.
94.